Magma Rager?
Good day, Magma Rager decks. The Lost City of GORO releases in a couple of weeks, and a lot of set reviewers are upset about the overall low power level, but I'm not upset because my favorite tribal aggro decks got supported. I put a couple of deck lists at the end of the video, so please stay watching. Maybe you'll like them too on day one. Starting with Tartaulan Storyteller. So, a couple of months ago, I reached Legend with Menagerie Warrior, and in this Menagerie Warrior deck, I did not have much access to board-wide buffs. Warrior has like Imbued Axe, and Bolster, and Rakara Minion, and that's kinda it. So, in this Menagerie Warrior, I ran Rakara Minion and Pylon Ziliax. Let's put it this way, you are Menagerie Warrior, and your average opener is gonna be like Adaptive Amalgam, Patches, and maybe a 0-drop, let's say Target Dummy. Your usual ways to follow up on that play would be turn to Applause, or maybe turn to Trasher. Well, now there is a third option, you play turn to Tartaulan Storyteller, and the buffs from it land on like 2, 3, maybe 4 targets. If this happens, the Dongar player fucking explodes. How do you use this card anywhere outside Warrior so you can just straight up mark this as a Warrior card? Thank you, Blizzard. This is sacrilegious for me to even mention Ultra Gigasaur unironically, but spilling Ultra Gigasaur is probably the closest you'll ever get to Ancestral Skull in a Walking Mountain in Warrior. You can also summon it with Thunderbringer, just like Turtala. Dies to removal, I don't care. Platazor is a kind of a card you never know if it's good until it's everywhere. So I put this in Cute Warrior. Chances are any top deck you're getting for Platazor is playable right from turn 2. The person who designed Enter the Lost City should do a better job. You are trying to build a deck which wants to complete Enter the Lost City. What kind of cards do you put in a deck to fight the very concept of time itself, like you're a hero of some modernist novel? There is not a single card in the entire Hearthstone library that interacts with skipping turns. I generally have an easier time optimizing a Magma Rager than I have optimizing surviving 10 turns. Like Magma Rager at least has some properties to work from, like it has 5 attacks, so maybe it works with Story of Barnabas. You play Story of Barnabas on 2 and then a 5-6 Magma Rager on 3. Isn't this kind of strong? You can also use its 1 health to work with Carnival Barker or Steward of Darkshire, but you can't do this with Enter the Lost City, you just can't. This is likely the first ever Hearthstone card to punish you for winning the game. But let's put it this way, you are accidentally winning a game on turn 9 because your opponent is a fucking dumbass. Well, then you are losing out on your precious reward that you could have gotten if you simply did not win a game for just 1 more turn. Well, and also you're losing out on the card you could have had in your mulligan if you didn't put this stupid quest in your deck. You are signing up for not winning the game. How do you even deck build around this then? Oh, and also this quest has a reward, which is Latorvius. And Latorvius says you are getting thrown a bunch of 8-year-old assets at you that remind you of simpler times where you had less adult responsibilities and your wife probably still loved you, didn't take your kids. They didn't even check if the rewards are coherent together. Like, sure, you can have Amara. If you start with Amara, it's really good. And then later on in the game, you can also play Galvadon Time Warp, and if you do so, your opponent explodes instantly. The rest 6 are complete garbage that most likely actively hurt your game plan. Listen, I don't even have any problem with having unplayable legendaries. Like, I'm a wild player. 90% of the cards are unplayable here. But this one is insulting to have ever happened, so it feels off. Many people have questions why is Fortify a card when Shield Slam is already a straight upgrade to it? Well, I'm gonna answer this. When you're playtesting a Quest Warrior deck, you are ending up in really weird positions where you are not really drawing cards. Like, in order for you to draw cards in your warrior deck, you have to buy into some sort of deck building engine or card draw engine, and you're not really allowed to do that because they would put you in a direction to win a game. Like, do you want to run Terran card draw? No, you're not allowed to do that because Terrans unfortunately win the game. That's not really allowed. Maybe you'll try some cycling instead, like casting Shield Block? Not really. What would be the card that you want to draw into with cycling? I don't know. Not much. And turns out when your deck does not have card draw or cycling, and your hand size is constantly crippled by the fact that you started with the quest and your mulligan, your hand size is gonna shrink down to like 5, maybe 4 cards, and it's kinda hard to get an armor card for a shield slam to work in this situation. Its purpose is to make you feel less bad in unsynergistic places. I know for sure Axe of the Forefathers is really strong when you Corsair cache it, but I don't really know what's the warrior deck that Corsair caches an Axe of the Forefathers. Usually in Enrage Warrior you would prefer Imbued Axe, and you cannot equip 2 weapons simultaneously yet. So this hints me to an idea of some tech W pile with partial enrage elements, like playing a disruptive spellbreaker and then battle worn faceless in it and drawing cards using this axe and acolyte of pain. Do you fuck with would you like to play this deck? I have a blueprint at the end of the video, maybe you'll like it. Story of Sulfurus. Sing along, buddy. Oh, also it revives Story Belori. When you see a 2 mana 1/4 warrior minion, you know some fantastic shit is about to happen. So, Stone Carver, when you enrage it on turn 2, it's a 5/5 that grows on the next turns. It's like Shadow Ascendant, but it has better stat line, you can control where it lands, and the effect is doubled, and it can also buff itself. This card is pretty stupid for aggro enrage, and it pushes it into playability. Not much playability, but some playability, and you can definitely hit like double-digit legend with it. Although there are like so many different ways to build Enrage Warrior, and so many cards to play with Enrage Warrior, and all the cards are equally mid, so I highly recommend you build your own Enrage Warrior that goes on with your playstyle. Nablia the Watcher. We already have this card and it's called Sudden Genesis, so I believe the only purpose for it is copying a spilled Tortala on turn 6 in Standard, which is probably not a happy outcome for Standard players. However, this is the first mention of the Rush keyword in Warrior since like Festival of Legends, so congratulations, even if it's not really a Rush card itself. Latorian armor is a bit awkward because it's numerically efficient for its cost, but you don't want to add it to a deck where you want it for armor gain, because in armor gain decks you don't want minions, and vice versa. If you're playing a deck that wants minions, you are not concerned about having armor. So I don't really advise you to even play this in Arena Warrior, because in Arena Warrior you just want cards that shut down the opponent instantly. And Shell Nato is even more awkward because what is a game state where you need board clear? It's probably the one where you are getting attacked. And what's the one thing you don't have when you're attacked? It's armor. You don't have armor when you're attacked, so Shell Nato is a board clear that is inactive when you would want a board clear. I know that you can play Goggles on the same turn as Shell Nato. You know what? I can play Goggles on the same time I play a Voodoo Doctor, and this combo makes my Voodoo Doctor restore 8 health. Does this make Voodoo Doctor a good card? I don't think so. Not to mention, when you cast Nato, you Mind Blast yourself. Why would you Mind Blast yourself? This is a deep issue with all of the recently printed armor spending cards. They don't really acknowledge for the fact that you are Mind Blasting yourself in the way that Pain Warlock cards do. Nato has its extra awkwardness that Smelt and Jettison does not have, because Jettison and Smelt have baseline effects that go off even if you don't have armor. Nato doesn't spin even once if you don't have armor. And it's not like Warrior is in dire need of 4 mana board-wide removals. We already have Sanitize and Aftershocks. Unfortunately, I like city defenses, and I have to explain why do I like city defenses. So in Enrage Warrior, your cards only serve one function. There's like a chain reaction going on every time you play Enrage Warrior. First, you have cards that Whirlwind. Second, you have cards that receive whirlwinds like Anime Extractor and give buffs according to how many times they've been whirlwinded. Then you have cards that receive the buffs and amplify them into some sort of game state relevancy like Crazed Wretch or Crab Rider. And then you also need card draw, and that card draw is only active at very specific and tight windows because damage minions don't really stick on the board in Hearthstone. You have to do all 4 of these things in like a window of a single turn. If you're a bit unlucky and you're missing out on like one part from this chain, then your entire deck turns into a 2015 vanilla pile. In order to offset this, you would usually want cards that do more than one enragey thing at once, like Gem Session, or Acolyte of Pain, or Ominous Nightmares. But Enrage Warrior does not have much of these cards, so they remain very one-sided up to this date. City Defenses is a card that does more than one thing. It can stop the opponent, and it also can punch the opponent in the face. That doesn't mean I'm going to add city defenses in a real deck, but I still like it. They need to make that token a collectible. They reprinted Glowstone Gyre Worm for Warrior, and now they call it Windpeak Worm. And this card frustrates me so much because I know Menagerie Warrior sucks at burn damage, and I know this card would help it, but it's just a little bit much not there yet. I still want to play Windpeak Worm somewhere, so I made up a 40 card Dragon Leaning Menagerie Warrior, words made up by Utterly Deranged. Is Primal Fiend Challenger free when you play this card simultaneously? And now for the theory crafts I want you to try on day 1. This is Enrage Warrior that I'm gonna be jamming 500 games in the first week. If you ask me why isn't card X here or why is card X here, it's probably because of my personal preference, and you should build your own Enrage Warrior. This is cute Menagerie Warrior with a jug that I will be playing 250 games in the first week. And these are the 2 piles I built specifically to familiarize myself with how Windpeak Worm and Axe of the Fore Fathers play, so that maybe I can later on in some future expansions add them to a real deck. Thanks for watching, I love Warrior. Forgive me for this shitty ass microphone, I never intend to become a YouTuber.